Welcome to Fire for Effect, Episode 1, Part 4. Myself and JT sit down and continue and conclude our discussions on Afghanistan, including a few of my experiences, our thoughts on the country right now, and the direction it's going. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Beer. If you're wondering how these things are full this whole video, it's because we actually take breaks. Okay, so there's your day one. My day one. Well, we got in later than you. It feels like a week. I don't remember. It doesn't fucking matter. We land in CAF. I get off the plane. I'm like, oh shit, I'm back here again. Same drill. 72 hours on the ground. Fucking sort all our kit out. Boom, boom, boom. Except we drove there.
Yeah.
So the Van Du guys from Stab A, infantry guys, pick us up to escort us from CAF up Highway 4 into Kandahar City. Guys are stressed out. You know, this is my first time leading my own team. Because I had the privilege to be team leader, counter ID 1 for Task Force Kandahar counter ID. So suddenly I got a team of guys I'm in charge of. That's my first tour. I ran, my own teams before, but not like this, not Kandahar City. So we get into CNS, and you're already there. I hear the story, the versions there. I'm like, holy shit, man, that's just like a week ago. Pretty uneventful. They were fucking good to go. They had the room ready for us. And then I remember downloading my kit. First night there. We didn't go out that night. We went out the second night. And suddenly I hear bang. Gunshot. In the shacks. In the barracks that we're staying in. Open the door and Buddy's running by. And he's got a fucking blood flying everywhere. And he's holding his neck. I'm like, holy fuck, man. Did this guy just try to kill himself? And then, of course, we found out the story. It was an ND, negligent discharge. His roommate was clearing his pistol in his room for whatever reason and accidentally shot his roommate. So that was fucked. I'm going, oh, this is a great way to start this tour. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you were there. I don't want to get into super detail on the whole roto. I've got a lot of stories to tell with a lot of other follow-on guests that are going to be on this show to get into the guts of that. But I mean, basically our job there, you were part of the quick reaction force. My job as a counter IED team was to deal with the IED threat in Kandahar City and the surrounding area. Over the course of that whole tour, we did 70 recorded IEDs and fucking, I don't know, man, how many more.
We were almost either every day or every second day.
I want to say it feels like 140, 130, somewhere there. But yeah, we were outside the wire doing our shit every other day. I remember actually in November, there was some fucking religious holiday. Like nothing happened for a week.
Yes.
And I'm like, fuck, we won the war, man. Yeah. Like, it's over.
I want to say Ramadan, but I don't know if it's Ramadan.
No, and I thought it was Eid. It's not that. No. It's something else. It doesn't matter whatever it was. There was this fucking big lull in the action. There was nothing going on. And basically, if we're not out operating, taking bombs out of the ground and all that stuff, I'm back in the office looking at the IED trays, trying to figure out the big picture and how to build target packages to go get bad guys. So that's all I was doing. Because we're on 15 minutes notice to move the whole fucking time. Right? You're sitting there waiting for that radio to crack off.
But if you don't mind me saying, I like what you did with changing up our location. And what I mean by location is changing up where we actually were bunked up and like we were sleeping and doing like when you were down or your downtime, like where we were located. I liked how you moved us up. Because we were right across the aisle from you. You moved us up in that other building. and then we were right across. Like it was like 2
Oh
doors
yeah,
down.
you guys were down in some shit.
Yeah, we're down.
No. I want the whole fucking QRF in one space.
One spot. Well, it was because you couldn't control the other stabs, but you could control where we were located.
Yeah.
So we were closer to you.
Yeah.
If you needed us.
So, we supported any coalition forces, whether it was special operations, and there was a lot of that happening in the city, especially at night. Afghan National Security Forces, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a fucking bomb in Kandahar City and the area around it, we were going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did on that tour, and it was busy.
Mm-hmm. It was really busy.
It was actually, if I recall correctly, the second highest IED event history in Kandahar City, next only to Jacques' tour previous to us.
Yeah, they were busy.
But I can't confirm or deny that
Yeah.
without, if I still had access to the fucking database, I could tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was busy.
Yeah, it was real busy.
Got to work with the finest guys I've ever worked with in my life. Always a couple duds, won't lie. We did pretty good at weeding out guys that were not hackers, but at the end of the day, and not just my team, the other teams, there's the other teams. I can't get into composition size and stuff like that because we still function the same way today. So those TTPs are still secret. So we'll leave it out. But the best guys, and did the best we could. Few key events, some sneak peeks into some follow-on episodes, I guess, if you want to call it that. Christmas Eve was interesting.
Christmas Eve was interesting.
With the fucking... we roll right up on where the bomb was, and we should have been back there. It was a shit show. There was media. It was right downtown. We heard the explosion. We always have a pattern when we leave the rear of the vehicle, so I always go left. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this guy, blown up guy, and Jeff's on the radio going, "Hey man, there's a fucking horse over here." I'm like, "Well, shoo it away, get it out of here. What the fuck's a horse doing?" He goes, "No, you don't understand. Go around the corner, and there's this fucking horse blown in half." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I know what that was." So that was memorable. 30 December, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I got a guest coming on, hopefully sooner than later. We're just trying to work it out.
Do you mind if I ask a question? Like, I don't mean to interrupt there, Chris, but I think we kind of nailed, like, your feelings and the overall, like, the undercurrent of how you probably felt as a leader while you were there, where you had people coming to you saying, "I need you to make sure that my loved one comes back safe." And that could be, and to be specific, my wife mentioned that to you. Not my wife at that time, but my future wife. If you could kind of put, like, if you really want to put this whole feeling, because if we're really trying to put Afghanistan in a nice little neat box, and try to have people understand that experience, how would you put your burden as the leader at EOD1, being responsible for those assets, 20 to 40 plus people at a time, the overall drive of trying to figure out how these cells are working and gather that intel and move that portion of the mission forward? How would you put all that together? Because I've always wanted to ask you that. Like, you were truly tested as a leader there. As people probably will never
Help me
be.
out with a question here.
The question is
I've had a couple beers.
It's true.
That was a lot.
I hit you with a lot. How do you feel you were tested as a leader in Afghanistan?
I don't know if I was... Well, you're always tested, I guess. I don't know, man. Fucking... It's simple. I by the time we went over there, so I was 38 years old on 309. I had 3 other deployments under my belt. 2 of those 3 deployments, I was running teams and responsible for their lives. Now, the risk on those previous deployments was probably not the same. But I was adequately trained, competently trained, the best training I've ever had in my life, and 100% confident that I can fucking manage this.
What was your biggest deliverable? Out of all the bullshit, I don't want to talk about the mission. I don't want to talk about trying to find the bad guy.
Deliverable.
What did you want to? What was your like? What did you really want to do?
Right off the cuff, never
Yeah.
planned this.
No, I'm sorry, buddy. Sorry, yeah.
Fuck.
I've always wanted to ask you this.
I don't understand what you mean by deliverable, but let's go down this rabbit hole.
let's
I'm
do it.
not even gonna edit this.
No,
We're
no.
gonna let this fucking
No,
go. You
but
wanna
like
get
for me,
organic?
Chris, it was just like if you cut away all the bullshit, and you've always kind of like, I've never really asked you this, but like, what did you really want to get out of this mission?
To get everybody home with 10 fingers and 10 toes.
I don't think there's any better answer than that, buddy. Cheers to that.
That's from fucking Dave Crossan. That was it. It's simple.
Yeah.
Get over there, calm everybody the fuck down, do the job, and go home.
Yeah.
Because understand this, we didn't know the combat mission was gonna end. There's guys with 5 fucking tours over there. I did 2. And those guys with 5, or me with 2, or you with 1, could have went again and again and again and again and again. This never-ending cycle of fucking wasted effort. So it's simple. Go in, do your fucking job. Take care of the guy to your right, take care of the guy to your left, and get the fuck out of there. It's nothing personal. It's just business. That's it.
There you go.
Don't get wrapped up in your own fucking head. Get it done. Take care of your people and get out. Because chances were good, you're going again. You think when I got back in 2008, I wanted to fucking go back again for 09, 2010? No. Ended up that way. So compartmentalize it, break it down into bite-sized pieces, and manage the fucking problem. That's it. That's all you gotta do.
Thanks. Appreciate
Does
you answering that.
kind of help?
No, that puts everything in puts everything in perspective, buddy.
All right.
And I think it basically loops into what you were trying to talk about with this whole large scale event and how people might be feeling about.
Well, I'll say
it.
that message because what's going on over there. So, where was I? I was kind of running through some shit that we went over there. I don't really want to get into too many
New
details.
Year's and then the 30th.
So we lost. I believe in my mind, if I'm not mistaken, 12 guys died on 309 on our roto. I'm just counting off the flag that I got in the garage.
Yeah.
It's not an accurate statement, but I can speak specifically to our group, if you want to call it that, which is Stabilization Company A, lost 5 soldiers and 1 civilian reporter. So 4 guys, all their names are on my arm, were killed on 30 December 2009 via IED. That was tough for me because that's my watch. It's another story. We're not going to get into the details of that. Also a civvy reporter, plus the guys that were injured in that. And then we lost another guy in February in, I guess we'll call it a training accident at Kinkella Ranges. So that's almost like 50%. I got shitty math. It's less than 50.
Don't ask me to do
more than
math.
40.
Yep.
What's 5 into, all killed within one group. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to take in. It's a lot to absorb. Just on that fucking roto of 158 people killed in the entire time we were in Afghanistan. 158 Canadian soldiers, sailors, and air persons, whatever, service members, and 7 civilians. So when you're processing that in the great picture, comparatively to U.S. casualties, British, I don't know the numbers, but they're fucking lots.
Large.
But it's ratio and proportion. For us to lose 158 people, that's tough. Plus 7 civilians, that's a tough thing to swallow, especially where we are now. So the combat mission ends in 2011. We're out by 14. 3 years of fucking teardown. And let's jump to this year to kind of close this out. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary. 20 years since the towers fell and the United States was attacked, and it was fucking game on. On April 14th, U.S. President Joe Biden stated that all U.S. troops would be out by September 11th, which was later changed to August 31st with the impending fucking shit show. And that was springboarded off of a agreement that former U.S. President, the orange guy, Donald Trump, fucking had made a deal with the Taliban, which still to this day sickens me.
Well, they coordinated with them, right? Like that was
Sure,
what they did.
Call it what you want.
Sure.
The Taliban is a fucking enemy. All right, cut and dried. And so that happened. So as soon as that happened, lo and behold, May 4th, 2021, the Taliban begins this offensive back into Afghanistan, started in Helmand province. So Helmand province is the province west of Kandahar province, and that was a British area of operations. And I always pronounce the place wrong, but I've been there. As Lashkar Gah is the city there, I think. They move into Herat, which is up in the northwest. They take Mazar-e Sharif, which was German air base, major city. They take Kunduz, a bunch of shit in what was in the east along the Pakistan border. Ultimately, they take Kandahar city, and then by 15 August, they've seized Kabul. So that's a 4-month gig, but really the crux of that, the fucking speed of that, was in 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, done. And fuck, man. If you thought Afghanistan was a breeding ground for terrorism prior to 10 September 2001, think about what they have there now. So all you see in the fucking media is, they got all these Humvees, they got all these mine-resistant vehicles, all the shit we either left behind, we being all the countries that were over there, all of ISAF, all the weapons, night vision goggles, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Got it. Shit they either seized off Afghan National Security Forces that we provided them with to defend their country, or just shit that was left behind, period. You know. That's one piece. The other piece is, to me, the infrastructure. Now, because of my first deployment there, I had the flexibility, not the flexibility.
You saw a lot of
I rotated. I operated all over northern Afghanistan, right? Ironically enough, not Kandahar, because Canadians were already down there doing what I do. So I've been to Herat. I've been to Bagram Airfield, which is the second biggest, or it was bigger than CAF. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Mazar-e Sharif, which has tons of blast-resistant buildings due to German engineering. I've been to Kunduz, also the Germans ran that. I've been to the remote forward operating bases like up by the Chinese border in Faizabad, and a bunch of other ones that I can't remember. All that shit is left behind. So now the Taliban has not just all the equipment. The equipment will break down. So unless they're on Amazon trying to order a transmission for a fucking Humvee, they're not going to get resupplied. But you left them fully fucking intact bases. Now, if you think about those bases, Hesco Bastion, Wire, it's a fortified fucking thing. That's shit they didn't have in the 90s. You look at some bullshit Al-Qaeda training video in the 90s, it's these fucking idiots swinging on monkey bars and shooting AK-47s over a log. Pfft, look what they got now. Right? And fucking Pakistan, who did fuck all next to nothing the whole time while they hid over on that side of the border and we couldn't go hit them. So there's still freedom of movement across those borders despite this bullshit wall that Pakistan claims to be building.
Yeah.
The same people that didn't know Bin Laden was living there. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't. China and Russia are engaging them and wooing them, if you will, depending on if you trust media or not. You know, so now that creates a supply chain for them. Like, that's fucking going to be a very dangerous place. And that's my opinion and my opinion only. I could be totally wrong. Maybe they're the nicest guys that they claim to be, you know. Oh, we're a changed Taliban, except women can't play soccer. You know, and all the bullshit. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit, man. I'm telling you right now.
No.
There's no way it's going to change. And that environment, this new Islamic emirate, to me is a fucking risk to the Western world, the international community, like, and they're gonna have this big sit down to figure out how we're gonna work with them. Like, fuck that, man. I'm not aligned with that. I don't know what your thoughts are. Go ahead. I've said enough.
You obviously very well versed in the situation there, and the only thing I can kind of speak to is just how I feel about this quick turnover, that the Taliban is back in power, and just maybe how your frontline soldiers possibly feel about this whole situation where...
well, how do you think the fucking... Everybody's like, the Afghan National Security Forces just gave up. Okay, well, all right. Here's the problem. It's how we train them. So if you train them under a Western model where they're dependent on U.S. air power, Canada's fucking dependent on U.S. air power.
It's true.
We only work in a joint thing nowadays. So what I'm saying for the layman is Canada does not conduct military operations anymore by itself because it doesn't have the resources to do all that shit. So it's always, you know, an international effort. Where you're supplied by the mostly the weight of the U.S. or the British forces to support that. So we train the fucking Afghan National Security Forces with that in mind, where they were relying on U.S. intelligence, they were relying on U.S. air support, and then suddenly that's all gone.
Well, that's
so that's one thing.
Yeah.
And fucking imagine you're Joe Blow, Afghan National Police guy out on checkpoint. You know the Taliban's coming. What flag do you rally around when the president of your country fucks off?
Well, that's the other part too.
Like, there goes your morale.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If our guy fucked off, be fine. But I shouldn't have got that in there. No politics on the show.
No politics.
No fucking politics or religion on the show. But
You're
Buddy
right.
fucks off to wherever, flees the country, and then says, oh, I did it to minimize the bloodshed. I'm like, fuck you. You did it because you're a fucking coward, man. You should have stayed there and died with your guys.
Well, and so that's the thing, is with the entire approach.
So
The entire approach of the mission was, I'll use the term like American centric, where they're going to be like the ANA, A&P government's going to be there, but they need to have ties to the U.S. to augment the Air Force, to make sure that they have those decent supply chains.
Dead
right?
now.
And that's the thing is so for them, and even the messaging was like, if you want this, you need to fight for it. But at the same time, when you don't have funding, like there's no funding model for them to dial up the U.S. and bring contractors in to make sure these planes can fly, to make sure that they're getting those supply chain issues.
And
so that's
look, I
things
get
fall
it.
apart,
I mean, everybody's shitting on Biden because he's pulling everybody out. Well, fuck. There's no real plan anyway. If the Washington Post or whatever has this thing called the Afghan Files or something. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. And it's basically all these fucking asshole congressmen and generals that are, hindsight is suddenly perfectly crystal clear 2020 going, oh yeah, well we knew this was never going to work, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, right on, buddy. Why the fuck didn't you say that well, we're fucking not winning over there. It's just a bunch of shit. It's a bunch of assholes protecting their integrity and saying, we knew. So now the typical finger pointing can begin to say, why did it fail? Like, fuck, you could have asked me in 2007 when I got there. I'm like, this is not going to work.
That's actually,
You know what I mean? Like, this isn't going to fucking work.
but that's actually a really good point to pivot on. So for the firsthand experience that I had on the ground, was every person you talk to when you were on the ground in Afghanistan, and like, I'm wearing a bunch of body armor and I look like a monster, you would talk to them and you'd ask, like, so how do you feel about things? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I got a blah, blah, blah in. They would say the same thing. The second you leave, the Taliban will be back.
Well,
and that was in 2009.
Here's some prolific shit for you. When we were on pre-deployment training in Wainwright, so this is 2000, well, it's 2009.
2008,
early
2009, yeah.
They brought in all these Afghan locals to work the village, to play role players for all the scenarios. This one guy said something to me that I'll never forget. Here's what he said. He said, when ISAF shows up, they pull out a pen and a paper, and they say, what do you need? And the guy goes, I need a tractor, because he's a fucking farmer. So he writes it down, the ISAF soldier, whether he's Canadian, American, British, fucking whatever. And then he goes, right on, we'll get back to you, and he fucks off. Goes back and hides in his camp, or his fob. Taliban shows up that evening, right after prayers maybe. What do you need? Need a tractor. They give him a tractor. Who do you think's winning? And I'll leave it at that.